one man saying that is fine. If that's your opinion and you're not in it, that's fine. But there is an entire market of millions and millions of people that agree that it is a store of value. So, you can think one thing, but there's also a market, and markets tend to become efficient over time.
We do know that you will always get paid in Hex on a daily basis. And that is truly the miracle that we call Hex, because it is trustless interest, trustless yield. Nothing will stop that contract from running.
Bow down to the king. Welcome everybody to the Creed of Crypto. My name is Broke Boy Crypto, and I'm here as always with my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. Welcome into everybody in the chat. We got a kind of classed ADP. Kind of sounds like KDP. I think she, I don't know where she is right now. Checks my pulse. Sean O'Malley, The Rat, Valiant Low Key, and somebody named Creative Crypto in the chat. So appreciate all of you guys being here. We got a big one for you tonight. The king is back, King Richard, with a video posted overnight last night to the surprise of many of us. Everybody waiting so long for that. Should I go live? For so long. And we pretty much got it last night, except in the form of a video shortly after the conclusion of the RH Max PulseCon 2055 concluded. And, Ewok and I were talking the other day, like, I wonder how, Richard posted about that conference going on, and it's like, man, I bet he wants to speak right now. And then sure enough, it's like very weird timing. At the conclusion of it, he does put out a video, which is very, very cool. So we've got that. We will certainly be dissecting that ad nauseum tonight. So we'll get to that. We'll get to a little bit of the macro stuff. We had the FOMC today, which is just a big piece of crap, basically. We will get to the larger crypto market, but just so much to discuss in terms of PulseChain, obviously, with RH. I don't want to say coming back. I mean, we know that he's never been gone, and he's released a video, twice over the last couple of years, but to see him back like this, it definitely felt like Richard kind of back in full force. And, he alluded multiple times to there's no reason I can't keep doing this now. So looks like he will be here to stay visually anyway. So all very, very cool. Hit the like if you guys are here in the chat. We appreciate all of you being here, but it certainly does feel, as the thumbnail says, that there could be a vibe shift, and is PulseChain season going to be coming here soon. So Ewok, how are you feeling about things this evening?
Very bullish, very positive. You can definitely feel the shift, I think, anyway. I mean, I'm seeing it in a lot of places. I'm seeing, different influencers out there starting to talk about it. Rand, for example, this morning said something on his show about, hey, guess who? Richard's back. He even played a little clip from his video and talking about it. And we need to embrace that, even if we don't agree with some of these guys and what they've done in the past. Any form of advertisement is good, so don't be too rough on some of them. But any advertisement is good advertisement at this point, so we definitely need to embrace it.
Yeah, I agree. It was cool that Rand did do that, and I think we'll probably continue to see more and more of that as Richard is out here speaking to people again. So all very, very cool. Appreciate all you guys being here. We're going to get into all that in just a second as I try not to belch. And yeah, let's look real quick at the overall market. Where do we got Bitcoin? Where do we got Ethereum? They haven't moved way too much from where they've been, but we are seeing some slightly bullish action from Bitcoin here over the last couple of days. It's up just 0.5% over the last 24 hours, but it's out here at 97K right now. We do have Ethereum at just over 1,800, basically at, a record low. It's in the zone of its, lows from years ago, basically, against Bitcoin. I think the ratio is at about 0.18 or something right now. Well, yeah, I mean, basically 100K to 1,800. So there you go. That is where we are at. And I didn't really look. There's probably a little bit of volatility, I imagine, earlier today. Obviously, weaving this in with the FOMC and Jerome Powell speaking today. As expected, they do not do anything with interest rates here in May. He then came out and didn't really say a lot. I mean, he honestly, he sounded a lot like what the markets have sounded like this year. He's just like, we need to wait for more information to come in and to decide what it is we need to do and blah, blah, blah. He did speculate that like the oncoming effect of tariffs was going to cause more inflation and less jobs and things like that, which, we will see how that does actually go. But he did continue to say that the economy was strong and in good shape. So, yeah, but they don't actually take any action today. So I'll get your thoughts on that. But as far as Bitcoin right now, where we're at in the 4-year cycle, and then Ethereum, and then whatever you want to get into with the FOMC EWOC, what are you kind of seeing right now?
Well, honestly, I didn't listen to any of the FOMC. As soon as I heard that they did nothing, I just kind of ignored it. So I knew it was going to be a non-event for any of the markets. Would like to have seen it. The markets still finished positive. The Dow, the S&P, and what else? I forget what else there was. Both of those finished positive for the day. So,
yeah,
non-event as far as that goes. DXY is still hanging out at 99. It's on a downtrend, which is good. As far as our currencies go, the more risk on for Bitcoin and Ethereum. Bitcoin though is looking strong. I mean, you got a nice little stair step up here. It's been mostly green candles for the past since the 20th of April.
Easter Sunday.
Yeah, you got a few pullbacks in there, but for the most part, you're seeing this nice little stair step up that we kind of expect to see leading in. This could be a nice little platform for takeoff. Ethereum, on the other hand, is consolidating in a range. At least it's been very steady since about that same day, about April 22nd. It's been in this range at least, so I don't know if the majority of the downturn here is over or not, but it is positive to see it bouncing in a range at least. So yeah, you mentioned the ratio and exactly right, 0.0187. So still on the low side of things, but again, once things really start to take off, I've said it before, I'll continue to say it, Bitcoin's a lot heavier than Ethereum. So when it runs, it's going to do a lot more, a lot faster when it actually does happen. So, just keep that in mind. But yeah, things are.
If you zoom,
good.
I'm sorry, I didn't want you to go away from that chart because I was going to say, if you zoom out on the ETH BTC a little bit more, well, obviously it's been horrible. You can see that it's down basically into that box, like in a range where it has some history, and let's hope that we do bounce out of here. I mean, we're basically within that whole region right there.
Yeah, this region, this was back from 2019 into 2020 before it really took off as well. That was right about, I guess it started in this range probably in July of 19 and continued until March of 2020 before it really decided to break out. So several months in that range. And yeah, I mean, if it has to go several months in this range before it breaks out again, that could put us into midsummer anyway. This is July, August even. But what we need is it to stay healthy in a range, at least, even if it's up and down a little bit, as long as it stays in that consolidated range. It's accumulation. It's still accumulation. We know these bigger companies are still accumulating ETH, but we're just not seeing it on the charts. The price performance isn't indicative of what we know is really happening. So you can only estimate that a lot of these are OTC deals. These people are accumulating a lot of Ethereum behind the scenes. And, once retail finally does catch up, it's, obviously going to be too late if you haven't been buying in already at these levels.
And to your point, like, because I even got tricked by it, like people might look at what you're doing right now and say, like, well, we might consolidate in this range for a couple of more months. And it's like, so you're telling me it could be August by the time we see any movement. But that is the ETH BTC ratio. So, I mean, if BTC
Right.
got, let's say it did 2x, let's say it got to 200K or something by that point. I mean, that's still horrible if Ethereum's only $4,000, but we would be looking at it maybe at least knocking on the door of its former all-time high again or something at that point.
Sure.
And I imagine we're probably starting to get out of that zone by then. But it's tricked us in a lot of negative ways so far. So you never know. But yeah.
Well, Ethereum's always been a delayed cycle. Bitcoin top will happen, and then Ethereum will continue to run for about a month. Usually, that's what history has done anyway. Not to say it's going to do the same thing, but it could very well rhyme, a lot. So just be prepared for that. And when Bitcoin is finished with its run, I expect to see things transfer into Ethereum. And then once that tops out, 28, 30 days later, then you see things moving into the altcoins, and you see the parabolic run of a lot of different things that you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah. Well, we will see if Ethereum can finally close this gap eventually. But again, the Bitcoin cycle, though, things are looking perfect, basically. Just kind of right on time with everything right now. We didn't see it come down far too low. And as far as the Fed stuff today, this is what we expected, is that they wouldn't do anything. How long will Jerome Powell kind of posture, against Trump? How will he operate over the next few months? Many people were expecting that the June FOMC is when we will see the rate cut. So that remains to be seen. But again, a lot of what he said today was like conjecture, just wait and see, blah, blah, blah. But,
it's all posture. It's all posturing.
And making sure to say that the tariffs are going to continue to have adverse effects on the economy and stuff like that. So, yeah,
still the fear porn, the media, they still want you to think that we're in trouble when the markets aren't clearly looking that way. Everything is on a nice upward trend here. Even, the Dow itself back up to 41,000. So not far off of its all-time high of 45. We did pull down a little bit here, but yeah, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I was going to say, in either way, a lot of these eventualities still lead out positively for crypto, because at the end of the day, if the country prints money, which they, there's nothing showing they're going to cease doing that. This can has been kicked so far down the road for so many years. That's where we are now. There's no administration, Trump included. It doesn't matter. That's going to come in and completely halt things to where this country doesn't print money anymore. And, I think that's what we're going to be headed towards. So while some of the economical things I think people may be worried about, and maybe some of them are valid concerns, I still think long term being in this space is preferable, because we're going to see dollars printed and the dollar be devalued. So,
yep, eventually, yes. The dollar's being devalued every day. I don't know. Somebody had mentioned it's a little early to talk about, but well, never mind. I'll bring it up later when we start talking about Richard's video, because there was something that was said in there that was very interesting as far as today's dollar and then. But
okay, well, we're going to get to it right after we do the pulse prices. So that is kind of where we are with the Bitcoin and overall crypto market. Looking at PulseChain, which we'll go to, there you go, pulsechain.com, since GoPulse is weird now. Let's see here. Mine's not loading, of course. So let's see what you got there. I just bought before we went on stream, so I know we're going to be heading down here shortly because of that fact. But
no, we're still.
Hey, you're right. So far, I'm in a slight profit, actually. So we've got Pulse at a 4 zeros and a 313. Obviously, a pretty major pump here over the last day. I don't know why there's not a 1 day thing here on the front page. Maybe whoever designed this, will get that in there eventually. But since he said, hey, do you want me to do a video? We just saw a pump. It started to sell off a little bit this morning, but now here we are holding steady right at what was the old all-time lows of PulseChain again tonight, and looking strong at that number. So we really want to turn this area into support and not go down below it again. So we'll see if that is possible. possible, but this is definitely a very key area for Pulse. Pulse X is at 40262. We got Inc. at $1.44. The only token not mentioned at all on the stream, on the video from last night, by the way. I don't think the incentive token was mentioned once. Hex we have at 00656, and eHex is what? Because nobody likes to cover it anymore, other than Dipcatcher, which I will say I do appreciate that. What is eHex at? Do you have it right?
I don't even have the price. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up on Dex Screener. It's like impossible to find this anymore since everybody likes to hide it, which I don't think is a good idea. But okay, it's at 00228 right now. So, and I did buy some of it before we went on air. So, yeah, that is where we are. We are looking good off this pump. Like I said, a good recovery. Was it a buy the news, sell the news event of Richard posting a video? We're going to see if we can turn this area into support for Pulse. I think that's going to be a very big deal. Great to see this pump in regards to his stream. But before we get to that, what do you make just kind of technically looking at the chart? Obviously, the Pulse all-time chart isn't fantastic, but we've seen some strength lately. So what do you think here?
Well, yeah, and you nailed it on the head. We've been talking about it for a while now. We've got to get through this 3-1, 40s 3-1 area and turn that into resistance. As of right now, turn it into support. Once we can get through this level, anything could happen. There's a large amount of things, that God candle that was spoken about could happen at any minute. Now, you still want to be strategic with placement of things. You want to see how the markets react to green candles, how big of a sell-off is coming of it, and trying to figure out, are they traders that are doing this? They're finding the different levels. Are they still sellers that are still not quite exhausted yet? Or what's happening? So I think it has to be quite strategic when that happens, because obviously you just don't want to be exit liquidity for some people that aren't quite ready to get out yet. So yeah, I think this 3-1 area that we're hanging out at right now is super critical. Again, we need to break through it and turn it into support. And I don't think it would take a whole lot. I think a couple more bullish days, like you said, Richard said, there's no reason I can't do this anymore. Once we get into that live stream format, man, I think all bets are off at that point. But, we'll take what we can get as of right now. The videos, the recorded videos, whatever, are going to have to be sufficient. So, yeah, again, it's looking healthy. When you break it down and you look into the range that we're at right now, obviously, you made a higher low. If we continue through here and get to another, a higher high here, and then use that level as support and bounce off of it, I think that is going to be very, very critical of what is to happen next. I see a nice little run up here to get above some of these levels that we were at in late April, or before the pullback, and then use that as a springboard. And that would be wonderful to see if that turns into support.
Yeah, I think so too. We'll see over the next couple of days. Like, the inclination, because of everything that we've seen so far for the last 2 years, is that, okay, there's this big sell-off right after the video comes out or whatever. And, it could retrace a little bit, but still, and I'm not blaming Ethereum, but the same thing that we've had to beat like a drum for months is that Ethereum is, as we just saw, still $1,800. So
yep.
It's very hard for PulseChain and any altcoin to really pump in earnest. And like Sammy, I know in the chat, is frustrated and says that we can't call this move last night a pump. It did pump from where it was. I'm not saying that anybody's up on their investment or anything like that, but most things aren't going to pump in earnest until we really see that start to move, and we're not moving yet still. So,
well, I disagree with that. You have to call it a pump, Sammy. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree if it's a pump.
Little pumps, and we've talked about this off stream a lot. That 8%, 8%, 8%. Some of these 8% days really can add up to be nice little run-ups, and you have to take them for what they are. I mean, it's not a god candle, but the green candles day after day after day will add up to be something, and then you look back and be like, man, I wish I would have bought more at that level.
Oh my God.
It's funny how that happens, and it can happen rather quickly. So yeah, I mean, you have to you have to take what you get and run with it, and and hopefully it just continues.
I mean, you're right. I mean, think of Pulse even at 2x from here, like get it half of SAC rate even. I mean, that think of how much, like obviously people would still be down, but just how much more positive even that would feel. Like imagine your portfolio nearly doubled from right now even. I think a lot of people would be back near even maybe, or at least about where it depends. I mean, obviously everybody has a different cost basis and has been here different amounts of time, so yeah.
But that shows the importance of the DCA though. I mean, if you can buy in at these levels of 0.0003 and it does get to half of SAC rate, while the people that didn't do anything are like, man, I'm still down half, you've doubled what you put in. So it lends to a completely different mindset. It makes you a lot more bullish on what's happening, whereas other people are just kind of sitting around waiting to get back to where they were. You're actually a lot more positive of the things that are happening, and I think that definitely shows online in X, Twitter, about who has been making moves at these lows and who hasn't, and who's just sitting around complaining about it,
Right. Well, there's a lot of people doing that, as Richard pointed out, which we'll get to here in a minute. But yeah, shout out Alaska Fisherman. Good to see you here again, my friend. Thank you for being here. And yeah, so that is kind of where we're at with the Pulse prices. I mean, looking a little bit more positively today, of course, than we have the last few days. And, we're back to almost about a 2x for Pulse, up from its all-time low from just a few weeks back here. So that is good to see. Did you want to look at Hex here for a minute real quick?
No, I'm just looking to see if there's anything jumping out at me.
Okay.
And I figured we would see very similar looking pattern to all of them. It shows here that Pulse is up 15%, Hex 23, Pulse X 18, and Incentive 19. So we're going to see very similar moves on all of these. I don't think it really matters which one we even really look at. Obviously, we like to see the chart of the PLSX versus Pulse, this little uptrend here. It looks very, very good.
Does look good. Does look very, very good indeed. So
yep.
Very good stuff. We will see how we go moving forward. We're going to get into the Richard actual video here in a moment. And I do want to get to something about kind of Pulse and Hex prices for the long term in this bull market, but I don't want to I don't want to go in this direction right now. I'm going to table this for a little bit later. But if you guys are here and enjoying the stream so far, do us a favor, hit the like to support Real DeFi, support PulseChain, support Richard Hart. We appreciate all of you guys being here. Iconoclast, yeah, we'll get to that. Richard not mentioning the ink token. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. So let's delve into the video. So yeah, I mean, we get this announcement last night. It was out of the blue. You and I DM'd it to each other like immediately. You beat me to the punch by like 30 seconds, a minute or something like that.
Not even. It was like 5 seconds.
Almost simultaneous. Yeah. As I'm sure probably happened with many people, obviously. Just very, very cool. And it's funny because we were talking about, he did tweet out about the RH Max PulseCon 2055 over the last couple of days, which it's so funny because Richard does this video and now I kind of stole the thunder from that conference, which we were going to like kind of review a bit tonight, and we still will, but I mean, this kind of takes the headline obviously now. But I think Richard probably was seeing some of that, just, it's so funny how on the same day that conference goes off, we have Cinco de Mayo, number one, but also the SEC, whatever. I mean, we already knew it was over, but like the actual entering of the case being over, essentially.
Right.
The
actual formal dismissal. Yep.
So yeah, and all that happens on the same day. Very interesting. And then, obviously Richard, it looks like, was waiting for pretty much this lining up of events. He wanted this to be like in stone. Now, yeah, they do. The SEC has 60 days to appeal, whatever. I don't think he's too worried about that. I think there's a lot of confidence, obviously, because the SEC from the top on down has instructed them not to go after cases like this. So, and obviously they got killed in court. But into the video, I mean, I'll let you take it whatever direction you want to go first. But I mean, the first part of what he did focus on was the defeat of the SEC. And he talks so much about like marketing and stuff in that video. I think it's great that, first off, he posted it on Twitter and X, whatever you want to call it. And I think that garnered a lot more attention than if he had just done it on YouTube, obviously. Really good for the algorithm and stuff. Then he uploads it on YouTube and calls it like, I beat the SEC. And he opens the video straight to the point, straight away. Hey, I'm Richard Hart. I just beat the SEC. Not settled, not they dropped the case, beat them in court. He went right to it right away, which was the headline. And then you got Rand playing it verbatim on his show right away. So I think he did a great job getting into that immediately and making that the topic. So what did you make of all of that, all of the SEC stuff, which really was probably the first, 10 minutes of it anyway?
Well, yeah, obviously very bullish, the old Richard that we're, so used to seeing from the past, where I'm going to pat myself on the back, and this is what I did, and I spent a lot of money to do it. He didn't ever really come out and say that,
right?
But he was beating around the bush, saying, they didn't dismiss it. Don't get the stories wrong when you're telling them now. I want you to make sure that everybody knows that I defeated them. They dismissed it, and not only me, but Hex, PulseChain, PulseX, which they named in the case. So they had to name them victorious as well. So, just that clarity, that the attitude, I was, happy to see it back anyway.
Right.
The old school Richard of, when I'm right, I'm going to tell you I'm right. And when you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. And, he is known for that, and I know it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. It garners sometimes the wrong attention, but again, the advertising, any advertisement is good advertisement, whether it's positive or negative, as long as people are talking about it. So
yeah,
I was happy to see him. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks,
sexy.
Well,
I don't know if that's what you were searching for.
That's not what I was searching for.
I think I do think he does need to. Maybe it was the lighting. I think the beard he needs to let come in a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Yeah, and
that was my only complaint.
He had said something at one point of, I wish you could see my hands. He had zoomed in too close. He was trying to do some sort of triangulation with the light in his eyes or something like that. I was like, oh well, okay. That's a little too much, but I think I was more expecting him to come back jacked, like, and in shape, and seeing that, but you only see it from here. Basically, here up is all you really see. You weren't expecting that?
I mean, I don't know. I wasn't expecting any kind of dramatic makeover or anything like that, but yeah.
No. I don't know. I feel
like it was the least of my worries, honestly.
Well, I really wasn't concerned. I wasn't necessarily concerned about it either, but just the cherry on the top kind of thing, come back all jacked and in shape.
Red Bull can on top. Yeah.
Lost a sizable amount of weight, which he's very hard on himself. He's very critical of himself about that. So yeah.
But as far as the SEC stuff, instead of Richard's body, I mean, it was awesome. Yeah, it was good. It was good to see him dunk on it. I'm glad that he did drive home the point that he actually beat them in court and judge him on and all that stuff. Yeah, I think it was just awesome. And he compared it to the debt box case and how in that case they got actual sanctions. They shut down a whole office of the SEC over that one and everything, and just celebrating their demise basically after I don't think he could have talked enough about the chilling effect thing. I mean, like just how much they really damage people they do create a very real chilling effect that people do not want to get involved, you know? Yeah, which is scary. What did RH Max say here? RH is like Chuck Norris. He didn't get jacked. Jack gets him, or well, you know what I mean. He's jacked enough. Exactly. Yes, the old Chuck Norris jokes. But yeah, I thought the SEC stuff was great. Did you have any final points on that part of it anyway?
No.
Before we get into the next bit here.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So we talked a lot about Ethereum, obviously. He was very critical, of course, of like all the layer twos and how much they've done damage to Ethereum, which they definitely have. And a lot of them are junk that people don't even really use anymore. Like, I don't even hear anybody talk about like Optimism or anything like that anymore. Arbitrum. I don't hear anything about that stuff anymore. I mean, maybe something's happening on them. I don't really know. He was critical but fair to Vitalik. And I mean, it's not like that's any kind of tone change from the stuff that we've seen him post over the last few months. I mean, he made the joke about like, Vitalik, you should talk English a little bit more because if there's anything Vitalik is lacking, it's the marketing stuff that Richard is talking about so much. And Richard is definitely much more of a personality, much more of an in-your-face person that's going to come out and actually market. And Vitalik doesn't understand that stuff as much. But Vitalik is still around. He's still trying. He's still doing things. And Richard, obviously, as he mentioned as well, wants Ethereum to go up really badly and more than Vitalik, as he said. He thinks it will, and he's been banging this drum, since we saw a certain wallet buy Ethereum in droves at $3,900 a year ago or whenever it was because it was future casting an Ethereum ETF, which we do know now that did happen. And since then, we've taken a 60% haircut on the Ethereum price. But he did talk about institutions being involved in Ethereum and the ETFs and stuff and how bullish he felt that all of that stuff was. So, yeah, what did you kind of make of his overall feelings about Ethereum? Because I think he was kind of alluding to how much Ethereum he may hold personally, for one. But also about Ethereum being PulseChain's testnet. And is there anything that Ethereum has that PulseChain doesn't that you really want? You went a lot of interesting directions. So yeah, what did you make of all that?
Yeah, he was all over the place with the Ethereum discussion. Yeah, he said, I think I want it to go up more than Vitalik does. And it was interesting how he kind of twisted that and into there's nothing on there that we really want, as far as the updates that have been created that we haven't gotten for PulseChain. And he did basically come out and say, I'm not willing to push updates through that no one cares about and risk the security of the chain, because we just don't know. They have found bugs. They have found little things that could cause problems. And I think, that was his way of saying those updates really aren't important for what we're doing. It runs fine. They're not causing any kind of problems on our chain. And I'm not willing to risk the security of it to push updates through at the same time. So will they happen? I don't know. Can you pick and choose which updates you push through? Who knows? That's another, interesting question. Or do you have to go in the order, which I would believe if you're going to do one of them, you almost probably have to do all of them sequentially, because I'm sure that one was built on top of the next one and so on and so forth. The one thing he did say that was interesting was that hopefully we can also give you guys at Ethereum some updates that we create over here. And I thought that was, interesting of just to know, like, maybe what they're doing that Ethereum hasn't done that they could benefit from on that side of things. So I thought that was an interesting discussion. As far as layer 2 goes, he was talking a lot about the sequencer issues that people have, and I'm sure Dipcatcher wasn't too happy about that whole discussion when he, was talking about it, because it does. I brought it up as a concern of mine about the bridge and the security. Didn't really call it a sequencer, but getting into the layer 2, that's how it's done, is through your sequencer. And if somebody turns it off, everything's stuck. Everything's stuck over there. You pretty much are at the mercy of the person that controls that. So again, not that I don't want to see it do well, because I hold EHEX. I hold plenty of EHEX. Never got rid of any of it when the fork happened. So I'm as much a fan as anybody of it, and want to see it do well. I'm not willing to take a chance and throw it into something where it gives that one person that much control over what happens in there. So that was my take on it. As far as the the comment that he made, I'm one of the only English speaking founders too. He was joking with Vitalik about not speaking real fluent English. He does pretty good.
I don't think that's what that joke was. I think it was that Vitalik is always out here talking so technical and stuff like that people are like, "What the fuck are you even talking about, dude?" I think that's what he really meant. I think that's what he meant by that.
Maybe. I don't think English is his first language either, though.
Right?
So,
no, it's not. I don't think.
So maybe a combination of the two things. I thought that was interesting, and he did kind of make a joke about it, so it wasn't a harmful comment at all that he didn't speak English, but I thought that was funny.
Yeah, good stuff. What did you make? And sorry if you did say this and I missed it. I was looking at the chats about Richard Hart's body here. But what did you like? Did you intuit anything that like Richard? We know. We suspect to know a certain amount of Ethereum that he may have, but about how badly he wants Ethereum to go up. I mean, like, do you think? What is your speculation on how much he may have? How packed are his ETH bags?
Well, we know there's at least 180,000 sitting in the one wallet, but I would be willing to bet there is a lot more, because that was just from sacrifice. That was the DAI that had been converted over, in my belief, to make sure that the DAI didn't get frozen. And I think that's why, we've talked about this before. People are saying how terrible of a move that it was, based on timing and the price and everything like that he bought the top. And I really don't think he had a whole lot of choice. I think he was more worried about the SEC freezing funds, or DAI invalidating them, or doing something. There's enough people in cahoots that something could have happened where the stable coins, aren't as decentralized as you may think, and could have become invalidated, or something could have happened. And again, we don't ever talk about the ETH that was collected in the adoption amplifier. There was many thousands of ETH there too. So my best guess is there's probably close to 500,000 Ethereum somewhere between 300 and 500,000 Ethereum, that Richard would probably be happy to see rise in value.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. Definitely bullish on Ethereum, it sounds like, even with this price right now. So glad to hear that. Let's move on to this. I'm going to combine these kind of two things because they both have to do with PulseChain liquidity and kind of fundamentals of the token anyway. So he was talking about how thin the liquidity is on Pulse. And a lot of people are sharing this clip where he says, you can get a giant God candle at any moment. I think a lot of people were keying in on that idea for obvious reasons. And then he also spoke a lot about, and I thought this was really interesting, especially because there was doubt or controversy whenever this was first announced, and it's relatively new. But anytime seemingly that he mentioned, Pulse, PulseX, Hex, pump tires, like pump tires was included, and every single mention of the main tokens, as somebody mentioned earlier, incentive token not mentioned, which we can maybe get to that here. I don't really read anything into that. I'm more so saying it as a joke, but I thought it was interesting, though. He did mention pump tires multiple times, and he loves this idea, rightfully so, and talked about it in a lot of detail of the things that are on pump tires all being tied to Pulse. So anything that's launched on there, it is burning Pulse. There's all these different mechanisms now to burn Pulse. We already have the Pulse X buy and burn. We already have, the Hex inflation has been slashed. We know that the ink inflation, the same thing. And now there's another protocol that helps burn Pulse. But he talked in detail. I loved his example about the Trump token on Solana. I thought that was a really interesting segment because he talked about like the tokenomics of that, how it launched, and how essentially what needed to happen liquidity wise is you were selling Sol as Solana for stable coins, and it's not helping pump the price of Solana. Whereas pump tires, everything that is launched on there out of the many tokens are all going to pump Pulse or burn Pulse. So that seems like such a novel, easy concept, yet not a lot of people are doing it. So I'm interested in those two things here, just how thin the liquidity is that he's talking about, and the giant God candle comment. And then also, pump tires being mentioned so much, and the liquidity going to Pulse instead of stable coins.
Right. So I think that's the big thing. You mentioned it there. That was his big example, was the Trump coin, and how, if you guys remember back to when Hex launched, he was very adamant about making Hex and ETH paired together. Not USDC. He said USDC is for the time in the bear market when you don't want to come down with the other coins. You only want the price performance of the people selling. Now, looking back on that, there was still a lot of sellers, but I don't think people rotated out of the pair like he thought they would, because they didn't take his advice. A lot of people that provided liquidity were providing the ETH and Hex pair, but not at the top, didn't change it to the Hex USDC pair. And it definitely affected the price. When ETH came down, then it came down just as hard, if not harder, because of the Hart's Law. So I think he's probably going to be getting into that a little bit more as far as education goes, when to pair things with stablecoin, when to pair things with the main token, so that you can get price performance out of both. You want people to buy PulseChain first, and then switch into the other token that you're that you're creating, as opposed to what Solana does, whereas you have to buy a stable coin essentially to get into some of these things. And the tokenomics of it are a lot different too, because with Solana, with Pump.Fun, there was a lot of value extracted out of that in Solana. Whereas Pump.Tires is set up a completely different way, to where it helps make PulseChain more deflationary. As a model, it's one of the ones that, besides incentive, it's one of the two coins that essentially, well, I guess Hex is inflationary too, but it's been slashed a lot. I mean, that's one of his goals. This, bear market was to definitely reduce the inflation of everything. And I think Pump.Tires was definitely a big way to do that, because you've got so much PulseChain now that's locked up in these liquidity pools, being burned whenever they graduate, or whatever you want to call it, over to PulseX. There's things that are happening behind the scenes where the tokens will never hit the market again. So, essentially they're not off the market, but they're as good as being burned. So yeah, definitely some very bullish cases for why the things that he's doing is set up better and designed better than some of the other platforms that are out there, and why. So, I think we can all do a good job of telling people that, hey, come over here, create a token. They can't rug pull it, because there will always be locked liquidity.
Right.
So you're not going to take a complete haircut. Yes, the price could go down, but you will always have liquidity to come in and out with, and that's super important for the degen crowd, for the meme token people that enjoy creating those type of things.
Yes. And yeah, he actually spoke a lot of the idea of, a founder usually creating something like maybe some kind of shiny object for somebody to come get. And many times those things like rug or, because of it being tied to a stable or something like that, and how in this ecosystem, somebody could do that and attract somebody over, and it's all tied to Pulse. And you look at the Most token, obviously, which is a funny, safe meme for a lot of people that don't usually participate in the memes and stuff like that, like Most and Best and stuff like that, whenever Pump Tires was launched. So yeah, I think that's all very positive for sure. And going off of that point, we'll just answer the question earlier. I'm sorry, I forget who asked it, but it is an interesting thing that multiple people have brought up right here. Iconoclast, how does Richard Hart not mentioning Ink Bode for the coin? It was kind of curious that was the only one not mentioned whenever he mentioned all the other main tokens, including Pump Tires as a platform. What do you think? Do you read anything into that, Ewok? I don't necessarily. I mean, maybe a little bit. Just into like, well, it's the reward token. It's for rewards, and also right now there's really no farms you want to even really be in because of where the APYs are and everything like that. But yeah, what did you read into that, if anything?
That's about all I read into it. Is like right now he does not want to incentivize people to provide liquidity, because when that happens, it makes things a lot harder to pump. Ideally you want it to be as easy to pump as possible, for when the time is right, things can move in a big direction very quickly. So by not mentioning it, I don't think it was anything bad against incentive, because when the time is right and when you do want people to add it, I'm sure there will be plenty of farms and pools created to help support the price, to help things out a little bit. Just right now is not the time, and I think he was, by not saying anything, pretty clear about that. Is there's no point in talking about it right now, because there's nothing going on with it. I don't want to incentivize people to provide liquidity right now. Obviously, we want things to go up. We don't want to make it heavier. So I think that's all that it really came down to. That's how I took it anyway. And it didn't, I don't even know that I thought about it, that he didn't talk about it until I had seen somebody else mention it as well. Well, he didn't mention incentive at all. And I'm like, well, there's really no reason to at this point. And that's kind of how I took it. He's always been of the type, whether it be the risk diode or whatever it may be, if he doesn't feel there's a reason to talk about it, he won't say anything. So,
yeah. Well, interesting indeed, anyway, that he didn't, I guess. But I tend to agree with you on that. And kind of, I guess, the last couple of points, obviously, we mentioned earlier. So lots and lots of marketing talk. And we've seen him post about this for a long time. Obviously, we've heard his affinity for postcards, for, whatever crypto or company you own, postcards would get the job done. And I mean, statistically, I don't know where this stuff is pulled from, but it does say that direct mail, the percentage conversion rate is higher, and the ROI basically is higher than a lot of other mechanisms. So that is kind of interesting. But lots of marketing talk. He put it kind of on us, like the community, in terms of marketing. And you and I were talking off air before the show, like what is he specifically talking about? He alluded again to the mechanisms that are out there that he has also alluded that he has been involved with, where you can tie things up with a charity, with a trust, and use those vehicles cheaply to advertise about the things that you want to spread the word about these kind of things. And it seems like he was talking about a lot of it from a very high level approach, that there could be people. I feel like he was almost putting the onus a little bit on folks that have already got into like retirement status through crypto and through this ecosystem that may have means to pull things like that together. And obviously we are seeing talks, like it's not a secret. We've seen it in spaces and I've seen it in posts that like Rockham Rochelle and some others have been talking about a lot of efforts. We obviously saw before Decentralized Me had some money raised to post articles and media and things like that, which I think some of which have come through on, but there's other ways of going about it as well. But this was obviously a huge topic of conversation. I mean, he literally said, Richard, at the end of the stream at one point, like, the only thing I feel that we're missing is the marketing. That's what he said. He said people are out there buying shit left and right. They want to buy shit. They want to buy crypto, but if they don't know about you, they can't buy you. So
Yep.
I mean, it was one of the biggest points that he talked about. I guess I can't totally put my finger on who he's talking to specifically. Obviously, you don't think he wants to give you, he's not giving you directions necessarily and telling you what to do. That puts him a little bit in a precarious position. And I'm sure he's got some plans of his own that he plans on deploying. But what do you make of like some of the calls to action that he has with the marketing, and what can people do? And it looks like some people are trying to do things out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, when anybody's telling you there are ways to incentivize yourself and save on taxes and get different breaks, people probably should take advantage of it. And like you said, that was more directed at people, like you said, that are probably retired, that have the time on their hands, that may have some extra capital to use for things like this. But I still think that the outbound messaging is just as important. One-on-one, have conversations with people. I know, it's a rough chart. It's a very rough chart, but just making people understand that what we've got here is the decentralized ecosystem, and how what just happened with the court case, and all of that could be tied into a very nice little thing with a bow on it, and telling people what they're missing. Essentially, they're not going to hear about it, and I think still word of mouth is one of the best forms of advertisement that you can have out there, because you're being honest, you're being genuine, and they're right in front of you, right? Whether they take action or not, it's probably the toss of a coin. Same as if they get a postcard in the mail. Are they going to read it, or are they going to throw it away? But just getting it out there, getting it out to people. Now's the time you want to do it. You want them to get in, and you want them to see what can possibly happen from these lows. It's the best time, I think, to be spreading the word via word of mouth like that. And yes, those that have the funds to be able to raise capital can create some sort of educational trust or charity or whatever it may be, to where they can market to the masses in bigger numbers, and take the tax advantage, as long as you do it by the book and you create your charity the right way. I know Corey Geary is one of the guys that are out there that will help people get those type of things set up. I know Mountain Crypto will do it too. They're expensive. They're very expensive to get things set up now. But there are definitely ways out there that people can take advantage of, and get some nice benefits from doing it. Yeah, I think we really need it right now, especially.
Yeah, I just DM'd you if you wanted to put it on the screen. I mean, people are definitely creating some really nice, whether they are postcards or just media that you can put out there. I forget who it was that we would always see on Twitter a couple of years ago in the city, whatever city he lived in, but he was always uploading pics of him with those like hex bumper stickers and stuff that he was posting all over the place in public. And then he started to get, I don't know who this. I don't know who it was. I feel like it was somebody with a regular name, but then people started to shit on him because they were like, you're polluting the environment and blah, 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 blah. And it's just, of course, people are going to have an opinion on everything. But these I thought were awesome. I just saw Sami share this, and then I went to the account that created them, the crypto stickers. These are the only thing I would personally change about this is just put Richard Hart beat the SEC. I don't know. I mean, that seems like it makes more sense to me. But I think those look awesome. I think
they're sharp.
Yeah, I think he gets the point across. Rockham Rochelle shared, I don't know if he created them or where he got them, but I sent it to you. He had some awesome looking stuff the other day. Maybe if you want to take a minute and go up through your DMs, I know I sent it to you the other day. It was a few days ago, but they were freaking fantastic looking. I think these, I will say, I don't know about direct mail. I guess direct mail can work, but this kind of stuff I think is fantastic. You put, especially in today's day and age, you have a QR code right on there. Like if you see these all around your city and bus stops and stuff like that, you're gonna check it out, you know. So I do tend to agree with RH on that. I mean, there is something about a physical form, I think, that gets people interested like that. I mean, email should pretty much delete automatically. I know that's a big vehicle for some people, but these look really sharp. And he mentioned like the logos and being a big fan of them last night. They are cool. I mean, that's why like basically on every single one of our videos, I just put the three of them all together for branding and stuff like that. But I think they look awesome, and we should be using them for these kind of things because they look very cool.
Well, our logos, our colors, all that good stuff, they're awesome. I mean, they definitely stand out for sure. I can't find the message that you're talking about, but
that's okay. It was days ago, so that we probably have a shitload of stuff to dig through. But yeah, I think these look really good. And that was leading me to one other point on the marketing thing. Damn it. I'm forgetting it. I got to find the Rockham ones real quick because I thought they were some of the best I've ever seen.
Oh, wait, here it is.
Oh, you got it?
The attack sheets. Yes, I found it.
Attack sheets. Yeah, I like that terminology too. Again, not sure that I doubt that he designed them, but he is the one that shared them anyway. So I thought they were really, really cool. You pull it, there you go. So if you click on just one, yeah, I think these look really cool. Yeah. Now that I look at it again, it's maybe a little bit too much information. But
there's a lot.
There is a lot there now that I see them a little bit up close and personal. They look pretty cool. I think maybe cut this information in half and have the big QR code down there. They do look cool. These are almost more for like maybe internet sharing than physical, but because the physical stuff you want to be like very in your face, very quick, almost like a thumbnail, whereas this is, I mean, these are good, but it's more like I'm at a meeting and somebody hands me this or something, you know.
Right, this is more of a conference room type deal where you're handing out the bullet point sheets like that, whereas the stickers are definitely more of a catch your eye type thing.
Those do.
I think it's short, it's sweet, and there's still something to be said about brand recognition. I think people need to see things. I forget what it is, an average of 6 or 7 times before they really take an action or jump into something. They have to be more familiar with it, and whether you think it's polluting the environment or whatever, sticking stickers on things, I still think it's a great form. People love the QR codes. They use them a lot these days, so why not take advantage of it?
Yeah, and when we're all rich, we'll hire people to go out and take them all down or something like that if it's really that bad for the environment. So we'll come up with other ideas. I think that'll be a net positive in the end. But yeah, I think those look really sharp, and there's plenty of people creating stuff like that. I want to see more of it. I think it's very, very cool, and there's some talented people doing that stuff. So yeah, I feel like there was another marketing thing I was going to touch on, but that was pretty much it. Did you have anything else as far as that? Because it seemed like, again, that was like his only thing. He talked about like better tech, better this, better that, just more marketing.
Yeah, I think you brought this up earlier, but if people aren't complaining about your ads, no one's seeing them.
Like I said it to you off air. That quote stuck with me for sure. That's a great quote. Yeah. Yep, for sure. And that's kind of why, I mean, obviously, I don't know how capable we are of doing kind of the top-down huge approach of some of the things RH is talking about, but we've at least had our channel now for a couple of years. We try to get the branding pretty much on point every single video, release a video a day of just cut up clips and stuff. And I was saying to you off air, we've had Frank Molina on here a number of times. And when he first heard about Hex, he was like typing DeFi into YouTube, and he started to see all these Hex videos pop up. And like you said about seeing the same symbols, the same icons and stuff like that, he started to see Hex so often. And I think it's important to share like the 3 logos like we use on all of our videos together like that, and just like is in that sticker that we're showing right there for that brand awareness. I think that's huge.
What's funny, back in the early days of Hex, when everybody was kind of coming online and talking about how did you get into Hex and telling their stories, and I find it very funny that and I didn't even know that these existed at that time. Afterwards, obviously I did, but Crypto Heartbeat, one of the old guys, he saw some infomercial, and that's how he got into it. So, I don't even remember the infomercials, but I
never saw that.
I never saw the infomercial either. I think maybe I did look it up at one point. I thought it was pretty cheesy. It was a guy on a yacht or doing something, but something that you see on TV at like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning if you can't sleep.
I think he said that's when he saw it too. I'm pretty sure.
That's exactly when it was. That's how he saw it. So I just find those interesting of where did you hear about it? And I would like to see more of those. Like maybe we could even put a poll out at some point. How did you hear about it? Because I'm very curious as to whether it was a friend that told them, whether they saw a sticker, whether they saw an ad, or whether it was, and I would be willing to bet the majority were told about it by a friend. I still think word of mouth advertising is probably the best thing you could do. But again, for the brand recognition, definitely getting those symbols out there. Anywhere you can put them and not get in trouble for it, man, is great idea.
Yeah, the hearing about it from a friend is exactly how ours happened. I just, didn't take action on it soon enough, so or as quickly as I should have. So, that's how those things go. But I think that pretty much conclude. Well, is there anything that I didn't touch on that you want to go into? I'm sure that there was a lot of stuff. I'm sure there's probably more, and I do want to talk about Fiat on ramp, the fact that he posted about Coast for the first time ever the other day, and we'll just get to this because he did talk about on ramps last night. Digital Money Market says RH said we might need more on ramps into PulseChain. Yeah, that was a big thing that he said. Other than marketing, that was the one thing that he mentioned. When we should close all off ramps, the number will only go up. Problem solved. I mean, I don't know that you want to close them all, but I get. I think having thinner liquidity is kind of the solution to that problem. But he did talk about it a lot, and this leads to another discussion that you and I completely disagreed with apparently when we were chatting the other day. But he was like, hey guys, people are stupid. You need to realize this. Stop with the whole fiat on ramp talk. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Just say buy crypto with your bank account. I thought it was a great point because like I don't know the average person who's just walking around. Like first off, you're probably not even all that interested in crypto and you only know a little bit about it. What does on ramp even mean? They're not using the word fiat often. It's just money. It's just dollars. It's just cash. I thought that was a great point, and it would be good for some of these entities to probably start saying like, hey, buy crypto with your credit card, buy crypto with your bank account, which some do. But I think promoting it with a headline like the number one PulseChain fiat on ramp is probably not a good idea. I agree with him on that. But you said that everybody should know what that means. You're an idiot if you don't. Shut up. You're an idiot yourself. But what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know that I said that you were an idiot. I think my point in my thinking was a lot of guys that come into crypto space have invested in other things. They understand what fiat is. This is my opinion. Don't shake your head.
Go ahead. You can do it.
I just think people that come into this space have been around other investment vehicles of some sort, whether it be traditional finance stuff. They know what fiat is. The people that are normies out there, they're the ones that are going to use Robinhood and shit like that, where they can connect a bank or a credit card and not really have real crypto. Although I do think Robinhood has changed a little bit. I did hear somebody that had asked me about Robinhood, and I'm like, well, it's not even really a real crypto because you can't get your stuff out. And they're like, well, I sent stuff to a wallet. I sent it to an Exodus wallet. I'm like, oh, so you know what Exodus is? Well, that's good.
Interesting.
So I do believe they have changed a little bit. Robinhood used to be where it was just, you know, you buy and you sell on there. You don't really leave the system. They weren't really real tokens. They just followed the price. So good for them if they're actually allowing people now to withdraw it. So that's pretty
that
good.
Cool.
But back to my point is I feel like a lot of people that have come in have been in some sort of investing before. It's hard to talk somebody that has never invested in stock market or even mutual funds or whatever it may be that they wouldn't know fiat. But, you know, I've been around it 2017. So, or since 2017. So I just, you know, that terminology to me has been all over the place. So I guess maybe I take it for granted.
I think you do. I honestly think you do, because I remember when I was not even in crypto yet, and I would have never. I don't know that I even realized that fiat was a term for cash. Basically, I don't think I would have ever even understood that. So, and there are plenty of people. I mean, you know, you've met them, and so have I. Like, you know, a friend here or there, somebody that like all of a sudden when the bull market starts taking off is like, hey man, I was thinking about buying Bitcoin and stuff. Like those kind of people that could actually be onboarded, even though they're like trying to buy the top and everything. I don't think a lot of them understand that terminology. Like, I think they get the gist of like there are crypto exchanges, there are wallets, but I don't think they get the lingo of like, what do you mean on ramp? Like, what the hell do I have to do? I thought I just went on Coinbase and bought what I wanted to buy. And if I send it to a wallet, then I could send it to a wallet. I think that is about the extent of maybe the average person's thing. Maybe not even the wallet part.
Sure, that's a tough one too, because I've talked to many people that didn't even know realize what a wallet was. Like,
right. Let alone a bridge.
Right. You know, then you get down that rabbit hole where the bridge and the you know, getting your own wallet with your seed phrase, and they're looking at you like, oh my God, what did you get me into?
Yeah, 24 words. You got to remember these 24 words.
Yeah.
But well, that's my point about the on-ramp thing is like nobody understands the bridge. It probably scares people. That's why I think Richard is right to like stop using that kind of lingo and say like, well, like with Coast, for example, I was trying to wrap this back into Coast because RH did post about it for the first time ever the other day, asked people what they thought of it. I mean, it was kind of like an endorsement without endorsing it. I mean, if he's going to post about something, that's as close as you're going to get to an endorsement from him, because he wants to avoid, like, he's very careful, as he talked about last night, with mentioning anything, you know.
Well, yeah, but they updated the PulseChain website and Coast is now on there. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Which I did, I forgot, but that, I mean, that's pretty much a ringing endorsement.
I think those updates that were done to PulseChain.com were some of the things that he was asking. Hey, what do you think about this? Or hey, what do you think about that? And then not too long after, they were added to that. So thought that was pretty cool. Where that's as far as ringing endorsements go, there you know, there it is. So I think, in fact, maybe even let's take a look at PulseChain.com and see what.
While you do that, because I wanted to focus on the Coast, because there's another element of the Coast thing I wanted to bring up, and just the on-ramp thing is like, I think he's kind of encouraging them to say like, and to say to these layman, you know, newer crypto investors, like, here's a way to buy PulseChain with your bank account, because literally you can do that. I mean, it's basically any bank in the US now. I've still been using Old Glory with them, and you know, you can encourage somebody to open up one of those accounts and everything. But I think that's kind of the terminology that we should be focused on more. Like, hey, look, there's nothing weird you have to do to get into this. You have a bank account, you hook it up to this system, you mint their stable coin, and you swap the stable coin into whatever it is you want to buy on Pulse. and bada boom, bada bang. You don't have to. And avoiding a bridge is a big thing. I mean, there are security risks with a bridge. People don't like to use the bridge. It takes time. All those things, and the fees could be higher eventually. We forget there was originally like a 0.3% fee or whatever to bridge into PulseChain, and it's been removed and it's been free for a long time. That's probably coming back soon. I bet that's coming back would you think? I mean, I would think whenever there's more demand, it'd be like, oh wow, look, the fee's back.
I don't know. It's possible. Very possible. One of the things that are listed on here is that multi-chain bridge from the Gibbs Finance tool as well. So
interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So with last, I just want to say this on Coast real quick. So when he did post about them the other day, there was a lot of replies, because he asked, like, do you recommend this? And most were very favorable. I posted something that you and I have talked about many times. Like, yeah, generally I do like it. I like what they're doing. The only kind of downer is that their stable coin CST is never $1. It's rarely even 99 cents. I just actually used them today and it was below 99 cents. It didn't affect me too much this time, but that's been a big thing. I actually was purposely not talking about that on here too much because Coast has so many positive things about it that I don't want to throw shade their way. But the headline here is that Stoic replied to me and just said, we're working on this right now. So they're aware of it. They've heard, I mean, I'm sure they were always aware of it. Let's not kid ourselves, but they're aware of it. Maybe more and more people are saying about it, because if it's not a small amount you're putting in, like, let's face it, most people may be DCing in with like whatever's left of their paycheck, and it's maybe not all that much. But if you're putting in tons and tons of money, when you see that spread where like CST is 98.5 cents and then you're going to swap it, I mean, you can be talking hundreds of dollars potentially with how much you could be DCing in. So I'm glad to hear they're working on it. I co-sign Coast. I've used it many, many times. I'm very excited for it in terms of an off-ramp, especially because, you think like in the future where you may have made all these gains through crypto and you don't want to put these big amounts of money through an exchange. I think it's invaluable to be able to use them and then put it into your Old Glory bank account or whatever you want to go to. So,
yeah. And I even had posted at one point, hey guys, what can we do? Is there a way the community can help? And they didn't answer my question to them. And I always, like I said, I always go to bat for them. I did ask the question because I know you had brought it up.
Even though you said I was being a little bitch every time I complained about it. But
pretty much. But again, when you were onboarding more cash at that point than I had been, so I didn't really.
You probably weren't seeing it. Yeah,
I wasn't seeing it to the numbers that you were. So it was a little different, and then it was a couple bucks here or there or whatever. But I get it. I mean, anything that. And I had asked, what can the community do? Is there a way we can supply liquidity? And then I went into the different liquidity pools. Obviously, PulseX doesn't have a farm for it, but you can add liquidity whatever you want. But the Fux protocol has a stable coin, and it's only tied to what was it? CST and USDC, I believe. So be careful if you're coming in to DAI, because then it has to trade another hop to get to DAI, whereas USDC is a better ratio for you in the future. For anybody that's doing those conversions, you do get a better rate. But it was weird. It was 80% USDC, 20% Coast, or something along those lines. Maybe it was 75-25. Whereas I thought it would have made a better pool if they had combined multiple, whether it be USDT, USDC, and DAI all together with Coast, and made a pool like that. So I don't know if something, maybe Fast Abdul could look into that. It would definitely help strengthen it, I think, as far as a peg goes, and maybe even make it an even fourth of those. I think that would help. Just an idea. I don't. Again, maybe I'm totally off about that, but I just think having some pools that had multiple stable coins in it, because I feel like Coast isn't going anywhere. I don't know. They've done a lot of work to get their platform up and running, and they've done well. The customer service is fantastic. That's another reason why I like them, and the speed of it. Sometimes you do pay a little extra for that convenience. So anyway,
which that is something to keep in mind too. I mean, sometimes when a product is good, you pay for it, obviously. So,
yeah.
So I think that pretty much covers the Coast thing. Let's flip to this to end the show because there's been so much, but I think we should cover this. So speaking of on-ramps or ways to buy PulseChain from your bank account, Sun Mini Meal, which for some reason when I saw the mini meal word for so long, I was like, mini meal? Like I didn't realize it just said mini meal because I don't even understand why it's called that or who they are really. But they have launched this method with Banksa over the last week. We've seen them in posting about it for a while. Hex Scout has really jumped on board with them and has been posting about it a lot as well. I think it's Hex Scout.
Yeah.
So they launched it officially on Monday. Another huge thing that happened at the beginning of this week for a new direct connection from the bank account to crypto. I sent you a number of their posts. I don't know which is the most appropriate to use, but we can just kind of skim through this. So they say, explain. Whoop. I was going to kind of read how the Banksa launch benefits PulseChain. On Monday the 5th, our partner Banksa will enable direct purchases of our token Soil. So just like Coast, there is I assume that's like a stable coin, right? They're not stable though, I don't think.
No, it's not stable.
Kind of like Coast.
Well, no, not at all, because it's not even close to. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, we'll get to it. Banks' widget allows users to buy cryptocurrency within minutes, offering a range of payment methods, including bank transfer, credit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, and more. Soil runs on PulseChain. By enabling Soil purchases, Banksa is making it possible for customers to acquire a PulseChain-based asset instantly. No bridging or complex steps required. Each time you purchase Soil, the Pulse Coin List bot will automatically send a Pulse to your wallet, enabling you to interact with your new Soil tokens. That leaves you with two simple options. Hold, read more about Soil if you want to hold the token, or swap, instantly trade your Soil for any other asset on PulseChain via Piteus. The integration dramatically simplifies onboarding to PulseChain, what used to take hours, days, or even weeks. I guess so sometimes. Now it takes just minutes. Why this? I mean, either way, it's quicker. Why this partnership is a game changer. Fees starting as low as 1%. Purchase limits up to 30,000 euros daily and 150,000 monthly. Decentralized liquidity sourcing powered by Piteus, eliminating the risk of centralized hacks or theft. We're thrilled to bring this innovation to PulseChain. This marks the beginning of an exciting journey. So, yeah, tell me a little bit more about the Soil thing, I guess. And we did see a comment here.
Then we can share
7 cents or something.
Yeah, so it's not. First of all, it's not a stable coin at all. It was just a way to get a token on PulseChain. Now, not long after it launched, Richard made a post that he has since deleted for some reason. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he definitely deleted it.
But he was basically saying that you can't list stale prices on your website, and they're not accurate. So there were people taking advantage of the price discrepancy. I don't know what kind of API they had. The feed was wrong, and then not long after that, they Hex Scout came out and said temporarily trading suspension due to quality and compliance. A few hours post launch, project wait, where are we at here? The Fiat direct on-ramp banks officially launched for PulseChain. They identified unexpected discrepancies, particularly regarding spread handling that conflict with prior contractual agreements. So I don't know if this has been relaunched or not, but the problem was that the price that was listed on the site was not the price that was listed on Piteus. So people were buying things and then getting upset that that's not the price that they were buying it for. So you couldn't get this Soil token and then straight to PulseChain with a even spread because the prices were so different. And they had to get all of that ironed out. So that's essentially what happened. I haven't seen an update. This was on what day was this on? This was yesterday at 8 in the morning. So not long after it came out, it didn't last long that obviously they realized there was a problem. There were people taking advantage of it, arbitraging the hell out of it, and taking advantage of the situation. So they had to pull it. And I really think that's what's happening. They were buying it on one for the better price, selling it over here for, or the other way around. You know, they were selling it for the better price, and taking advantage of the spread. So yeah, a great idea, but again, you know, you're buying a token instead of just launching. I don't know why they didn't just launch PulseChain on their app. Obviously they paid to have it listed, so they wanted to list their token. So I mean, obviously that's why, no doubt about it. But then they were trying to give a fast, easy way to have a token already that was on PulseChain that you could just switch right into then for whatever token you wanted. So
right.
Yeah. But that's what happened. The spread was way off. People were taking advantage of it. As with anything, you've got to make sure that, you know, there's some sort of mechanism in place to keep them together. You know, you, especially if you're going to list it on a website that's not really tied to an exchange, you've got to have an API feeding that price feed that's accurate, so that people aren't able to, you know, take advantage of it too much.
Why do you think RH deleted the post? Like maybe that they I don't know. I mean, they were brand new, and it seems like they may have gotten out in front of it pretty quickly. You know, I mean, I don't know if it was totally scathing, but he didn't mention who he was talking about. I mean, he just mentioned it, and then mysteriously deleted it later.
Well, I think maybe it was a heads up to say, hey, here's what something's going on. I don't want to call it out. I don't want to bring a lot of attention to it unless you really know about it. I think he was doing them a favor to say, there's an issue here, guys. You might want to get that fixed. So
yeah, and then they did and paid attention to it, and he got rid of it. So that was pretty good, actually.
But because of what it was, you know, he didn't want to see them take a bath either. You know, they were doing what they thought was a good thing to help people get onto the chain. I don't think he wanted to, you know, he didn't want to insult them or come off as anything other than, hey, here's what's going on. You might want to address this. Yeah. And then once they paused it, then he had no reason to keep that post up anymore.
Yeah. So, well, either way, another new way to get from your bank account directly onto PulseChain. I mean, we have two really firing up here. I've yet to use this. Obviously, it's only been out a couple of days, but as we know, these things sometimes have to be around for a while before people really start to get into them. And, you know, I didn't do Coast for the longest time and then started to and got familiar with it. And then you never look back. So I'm glad to have these guys aboard. I'm glad they have this product out there now. And it's cool to see just more growth and more easier ways to get into the ecosystem. So yeah, very good.
And it was a Hex Scout does go on to say it was a Banksa problem, not Sun. So
that's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a problem with the provider. And I just hope they get it fixed. Listen, the more ways we have to get into the chain, the better. Obviously, we want as many ways as possible for people to come in. And anybody that's willing to put some money and marketing out there to help that happen, you know, you got to give them a little bit of credit. So yeah, I'm happy to see it.
I agree. Let's wrap up just real quick with this about the PulseCon 2055 that RH Max commissioned over the last couple of days. There was a lot of great speakers. I'd be lying if I said I saw all of it, but that's not, you know, that's honestly typical of any kind of conference with me. I mean, regardless of who's running it, I don't always see everything. And obviously we know a lot of the stuff that's being talked about there and have seen it talked about, but just the fact that people come together to do this, the fact that we have this kind of organization, the fact that it's out there being shared amongst a lot of different channels and it can help onboard people. And again, just so many people posting this content out here with the same branding. We talked about Frank Molina finding Hex from searching DeFi before. Just so we have this all come together. How great was this? What did you see of it? I saw a few different conversations that I thought were terrific. And I think the resounding thing as many people are very happy with RH Max putting all this together. I think there was very positive vibe around the whole thing. You can't have enough conferences, and I'm glad so many people rallied around him to show up at this one and really kick it off well, and got multiple mentions from Richard himself. So
Yep, I was pleased. The very first day, I watched as much as I could. I obviously still have a day job that I have to work, and that's one of the reasons that I didn't sign up as part of any panel or anything like that, is because with my schedule, it just it was going from 1 p.m. to I think 7, the majority of those first couple hours, and because times weren't listed. I didn't want to get stuck into a spot that I couldn't keep because I had a call or a meeting or something that came up for whatever reason. But kudos to Max. It went smoothly. I caught a little bit on the first day anyway that I saw most of. Went very smoothly. I think they kept to their schedule pretty well. The second day, I know they were running a little behind. I don't know what happened. I caught Aubrey de Grey's segment about the longevity and things like that. I know he was having some internet issues as well with part of that panel, but I'm just impressed by the way that it was pulled off. Max was doing it by himself, so that's a long time. That's 2 6-hour days sitting in front of the computer trying to herd cats, essentially. So, kudos to him. I'm happy to see that it was talked about well. It was well received. As far as conferences go, I'm like you. I've heard most of this stuff before, but there's always going to be new people that I haven't heard from before, as well. And when I would kind of turn it off and on a little bit and be like, oh, I don't know who this person is. What are they talking about? And some good speakers. I saw some guys talking from the Atlanta Blockchain Conference Center, Atlanta Blockchain Center, with some of the things that they're coming up with. Raspberry, it was Pi something. I forget what it was.
I didn't see this. So
again, I was listening to it in the background a lot of times. So anyway, happy. I mean, couldn't be thrilled, anymore. And it was very successful. I know they had a lot of views, and hopefully, one of these days we can get on a conference as well, and maybe take a slot or something like that if our schedules work out. I'd love to do it, but again, schedule would have to work out well. So,
well, as Digital Money Marcus says here, and RH Max mentioned earlier, I think there might be a PulseX conference coming as well. So later this summer. So
that's what I heard.
Pretty good. So we'll see how that pans out. And just again, can't say enough good stuff, good vibes overall from this conference, and really happy to have it around. And so many people.
Even saw Maddie put out a YouTube short, or I forget where I even came across it. It was just a short little video saying, "Hey, congrats to Max for putting the conference on," which I thought was very classy on his part. And putting it out there again as somebody else who has put on other conferences too. So I thought that was cool.
That is cool. And I know Wild SJ was very involved with it. She was on there a lot as well. So shout out to her for putting everything together that she did. So I'm happy to see that everybody can still come together. And I'm sure it's a lot of difficult coordination, but just so happy to see everybody pull together to be able to do it. And, see that we continue to set these kind of precedents in crypto. It's just not a lot of stuff like this out there when you look around. So
not being done by any other community. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Very cool indeed. So shout out to RH Max, and a terrific stream tonight. I'm really glad we got a lot of good news. We got Richard posting of the video last night. We got general positive price movement. There's a lot of scary things that you can be tooled by the media, I think, in the months ahead and what's going on with the tariffs and this and that. But as we said at the top of the show, I think a lot of the things that could end up happening here can still wind up very bullish for crypto, because after all, we're still probably going to have money printed eventually. So there's going to be worry. There's going to be doubt along the way. I don't know how good or bad this month is going to be for this space, but people are pretty hopeful about May. So we shall see. And who knows, we may even be heading into maybe a longer cycle into 2026. We've got time. Time is on our side. But yeah, that's how I'm feeling about everything. So any kind of final words you want to say, Ewok?
Yes. Stop selling, or Richard's going to call you sell pressure.
That was great.
He's threatened it. He's going to call everybody sell pressure. Let these charts run up a little bit, people. I don't know what the hurry is.
I hate to tell you, but they just turned red a little bit a few minutes ago. So yeah, yep.
That's
high sell pressure.
High sell pressure.
How's everybody doing out there?
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of good stuff coming. Lots of good stuff coming, though, guys.
Yeah.
Keep your chins up. We'll get there. We'll get there eventually.
Shout out to the chat, Digital Money, Marcus, Pulse Beats, Tam, of course, RH Max, Brownies, Midlife Adventure, Valiant Low Key, Checks My Pulse, DJ Mood Boy, Beyond All, Crypto Stylist, I didn't see her until now, Don Swan, and a whole bunch more. We appreciate you guys being here. Lots of great stuff in the chat tonight. We do this every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so we will be back. It'll be about mid-May. We'll see how much news we have. I'm sure it's going to be another boatload. So we'll be back on May the 14th. And yeah, for Crypto Ewok, this has been Broke Boy Crypto right here on the Creed of Crypto. See you guys.